I'm your host, Mod Gambit, and joining me on the sofa this week are mods Flippy.
Hello.
Kieran.
Yo.
And Ash.
Hello.
On the PC, answering your questions in the chat and gathering your questions, we have Mod Tide. And over at the other PCs, we've also got Mod Husky, who's going to show us off something in a little bit.
This is the Mod Husky.
This is the space for Mod Husky when he returns, yes.
Okay.
It's a hole.
So before we get on to the usual announcements, I guess we'll kick things off with Twisted Leagues is coming out tomorrow.
Woo!
Oh, yeah. Which is obviously a big deal. You can see from the artwork behind us, we've got some artwork made for it, which I think looks awesome. I'm going to hand over to Mod Husky right away, and during the transition, you're going to check out this trailer that we've had made for the release.
Hello. So as you guys can see, we're on Tutorial Island. As with all things in their game, that's where that starts. So we're probably just going to select Bob, but I will add a point of caution. We don't actually have a way for you to change your character on Twisted League, so if you want to customize your character, maybe don't go straight to Skippy. But yeah, so we've got Skippy enabled for the Twisted League because nobody wants to do the tutorial again. So go through that. You'll get a bit of an introduction as to what it is, but send you on your way, get some free XP, and off we go. So the first thing that's going to happen when you get to the Twisted League is we're going to have a kind of forced through tutorial. You'll notice I can't click away or get anywhere. If you've been keeping up to date with everything we've put out from the Twisted League, you probably don't need to read this, but this is mostly for people who switch in and don't know what it is. There's a good introduction to how tasks work, how relics work, and the interfaces that you're going to be using in this. So I'm just going to go through this and point out the main things. So we've added an extra icon to the tabs up here for the Twisted League, and a whole new interface designed by Mod Flippy to show up some of the others. So as we go through, you will see a task list.
Wait, so we're going to move the setup because you can't currently see it in the visual.
Oh.
I'm just going to do that for now.
Cool. So the task list here is where you will see all the tasks for the league. They are separated into different tiers, easy to master. So going through them, you'll see there's a common thing between these. Similar ones that are at the top. He will bring you through and tell you what the task interface is. You'll have a relics interface, which again, you'll see the first 3 relics that we have come out with. If you want, you can select your relic here. You don't have to. You can click on a relic to see a full description of them. We've modified a few of them, but not actually changed the effects since you guys have seen them, just so it's more clear. We'll close out of that. And lastly, there's an information interface, which the left one is about general leagues, a bunch of how that works. The right one is about the Twisted League specifically and details all the content that we're changing. I'd make sure you read through this before continuing, because there's quite a lot of useful information. If you want to go directly to the blogs, there are links at the top of these. I'd like to thank Mod Lenny for developing the lovely tasks and relics interfaces. So anyway, if you didn't select a relic, he'll ask you to at the start. What I'm going to do is show you them all in effect. So I'm going to select the Abyssal Accumulator, and you get a bunch of confirmation messages because, again, you cannot change this selection. We'll confirm. Nice little animation. Cool. Easy enough. Let's go try this out. So if I cheat and teleport around to somewhere I can fight things.
Can you use fixed mode?
Like these chickens. And we'll set rapid because that's better. And just focus on the inventory here.
Can you use fixed mode so it can maybe see a bit bigger?
Sure, let's go fixed mode. See if this helps. We're going to make it bigger.
I'm going to try. Give me a sec. No, I can't make it any bigger than that.
Cool.
Sorry.
Well, for those of you who can see and squint, when I attack this chicken, the first okay, that.
Did you set League World?
Yeah, it's a League World. That's interesting. We will have a look at that after. I've probably set something up wrong. And that one didn't use runes. So there's probably something going wrong with the range, but the runes one, at least, I'm not using runes all the time.
Yeah. Go back to the other side and sorry, Ashley.
Sure.
Can't make it any bigger, unfortunately.
The other thing, I will cheat and show off the other relic. So yeah, you might want to... It has been working. There's probably something I have overlooked with the... with setting this up. Okay, I've changed my relic because I can cheat. Why is that not working? Okay, I maybe won't show off the relics because I think I've set up something wrong on the world as opposed to something else because I know this works. Anyway, I guess that's kind of it for showing this off here. Because for some reason it's not working. I'll try relogging to see if that fixes it. You'll see we've got a new login screen for this to show that you're on a Twisted League world. Everything works until you need it to show it off to somebody else. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's ended up toggling the infinite run energy. There's something I've probably misremembered. Oh, I know exactly what I misremembered. That's me on stream doing that wrong. Sorry, guys.
No worries.
Forgetting all our variables and stuff after months of working on it. So the one thing you'll notice now with infinite run, this one is working, is my run energy isn't going down. So you guys can see it staying at 95 run energy. That's going to be a lot of fun. It will also increase my health restoration rate by 4. And the final relic, which now that I've remembered what to type, sorry guys, I forgot it was 0 indexed, where 0 is not actually having one selected. Now I've got the one that automatically buries your bones, so I'll go back over and kill these chickens with cheats to make it quicker. You'll notice that the bones are automatically buried. I got 4 times the experience, times 5 again for being on a league world. And I won't, it's hard for you guys to know because I'm sure you don't actually know what the drain rate for these are, but this will drain at half the rate, which is quite interesting. I'm going to try the other one again to see if that works now, if I've done something wrong, or if we need to look into that. Okay, it's now working, I think. Yeah, so I'm not using arrows all the time. There, I probably just had to restart the world. Sometimes I'll use them, sometimes I won't. Huh. I think I know what's wrong with that one anyway. Something else I'd like to show off though, and it's important when deciding your relic to look at this. To read and decide appropriately. But if you're wondering and you're still coming up with your strategies, I'd like to throw a shout out to the wiki team. Actually, I'm not going to... Sorry, I have a script. I'm not following my script. The other thing you might want to do is, for the leagues, is... well, you're playing it to earn rewards. So I've got an account set up here with the rewards so you can see them. So the first reward, zoomed in, is the Slayer helmet. Recolor. There's also a banner, which is really tall. In fact, so tall you can't even see it in the equipment interface. There are cosmetic outfits. So this is the first one, Tier 1 armor, very basic. It's modeled after this guy. Tier 2 armor is this one. And Tier 3 armor is this. And if you buy the Tier 3 armor, you'll also get his cane. So you can be as fancy as him. And then finally, there's the trophies, which all the smaller ones are held in the offhand. So you can see there's a bronze trophy here, which is very basic. The iron one, which is the same but just recolored. The steel one, which is a bit bigger and has some sapphires on it. The mithril one, which is the same size but has emeralds on it. Then they stop being offhand because they're too big. So you've got the adamant trophy with a tree that's blocking. There we go. A rune trophy with the diamonds. And for the top 1% of you, a dragon trophy with an actual dragon. Yeah. Cool. Anyway, the last thing I would like to shout out is to the OSRS Wiki. I'm sure you guys use it for everything in game anyway, but they've done a big job of documenting things that are on Twisted League. Now, we can't verify if these are completely accurate, but they've done their best. So if I say I want to find a knife, and I go here, you can see, if I zoom in a lot on stream, they have an icon that depicts it in the Twisted League. So you can see here, you can get one from Farmer Keith, and you can get one from Lake Mulch. And the drop sources, you can see there's a baby imp playing, a mugger. There's a shop here that gives it, and another shop here. So the wiki have done a great job of trying to do that, and I'm sure they'll only find more things that they've missed as the league goes on and people point it out. But yeah, big shout out to them. I'll come back to the desk now, this couch.
Are we back on? Can they hear us?
We are back on.
Hello again, everyone. If we bring that back, actually, just we can talk about it for a sec. So what we're looking at here, Modhusky, are the updated high scores that are going to be running throughout the league, right?
Yeah, so on League Worlds, which you'll see the tab at the top is selected for leagues, it'll sort of tell you this is for the Twisted League high scores. And you'll notice at the top of the minigame section, there's now a league points section. This is the metric we use to decide who is doing the best at leagues, right? Because there's all sorts of things and tasks from obtaining items. There are tasks from killing a certain number of bosses or for getting high skills, right? So there's no way to accurately measure all of that without having league points. So yeah, you can see all the cool names that we've put on there.
How is Mad Melvin not number one?
I don't know. He was trapped by goblins for. Right. No, that wasn't Mad Melvin. That was the other guy, wasn't
Epic
it?
Major.
Yeah,
Epic
he's
Major.
number 2.
He's number 2.
Elfinlocks is a nice name from 2005 with the Wise Old Man bank robbery.
But yeah,
Those are all cutscene NPCs, aren't they?
so
Pretty much.
I think so.
So the league points will be the main metric, but you'll still be able to look at your standing for each individual skill and clue scroll in the league as well, which I think is pretty cool.
The league points are what you'll get that will directly transfer to your main save account. So that's where you can log in. Obviously, after the season will be able to be where you purchase those rewards that Husky showed, from the cool as hell Slayer helmet to the various trophies as well.
Mm-hmm. The other thing I'd like to mention is we had in that video, obviously, scroll through the tasks very quickly, and I'm sure a bunch of people are pausing at certain moments to see them all. At this point, the task list is kind of out, and I'd like to again shout out to the OSRS Wiki. We've been in contact with them, and when our blog goes live at, is it 10 o'clock tomorrow? Is that right?
That's when the countdown is due to begin.
There will be a link to a wiki page with a list of all the tasks and their difficulties and points, because they've gone and set that up behind the scenes. So you guys will straight away be able to see that, and you'll have about an hour and a half of looking at the tasks before it actually goes live, because the Twisted League won't open until 11:30. So that's pretty cool, and props to them.
The other thing about those high scores, by the way, which we should bring back up, John, if you get a chance.
he's having to run around the room.
Is one thing you might notice is, well, firstly, it's a bit more interesting, and there's an icon at the side. There's a bit of an explanation about what leagues is at the top. That's cool. But look at the left-hand bar, the actual big scroll with all the skills on there and all the different categories. There is now a big up and down arrow at the top, which allows us to add a lot more things to this list in the near future if we want to.
And we do want to.
And we do. Well, there's many things people have been asking for quite a long time. Arrows themselves are not that exciting. It's what they give us the capability to do. So, what we'd like to do in probably as soon as possible is add boss high scores as well. I think is it Mod All Star? I think it's Mod All Star.
Yes, credit to Mod All Star for this one, I think.
Yeah, in the tech services team, which do a lot of the website stuff. Yeah, he's done a load of work into this, and that's been obviously allowing us to do that properly, which will be absolutely amazing. So, firstly, obviously giving us league points, but it's also given us the capability to do that in future as well, which will be absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I know players have been asking for a lot of things for that. We can finally deliver.
Lovely.
All right. If anyone wants to go back and find all the details about Twisted Leagues, we have, I think, !Twisted will take you to the Reveals blog where basically all the details you need are covered. And if you want to get theory crafting, like Husky says, you'll have to pause and scroll slowly through the trailer that we showed and try and pick out.
That trailer was sick.
So the one thing I would like to as well do before we move on from Twisted Leagues is talking about the relics themselves. I know there's been a lot of discussion in the community about which ones to pick. Once that task list is out, one of the things that you might have noticed is that we are now, well, there's tasks for reaching certain thresholds and skills. And I know that a lot of people have been saying, oh, what's the point in picking like the Dark Altar Devotion relic, for example? Well, if getting 99 prayer is a task, which it is, there might be a lot of benefit to having that be done passively in 0 time. So I like to sell one of the relics each one. So the Dark Altar Devotion one, pretty good for that. And in conjunction with the Catacombs, you get half prayer drain rate and automatically bodying like your Bone Crusher. That's pretty good. Endless Endurance is fantastic. Everyone in the office loves playing with it. I mean, you can run around in full rune plate body, and if you could get them battles of Naphtha and your run energy would not drain.
Also, the health restoration is quite helpful there too when you're very low level and you're, I don't know, if you want to train thieving or something. It is that you actually can without needing food.
Yeah, and especially in the early game, I think that's the relic that will have the most impact, no matter what you're doing, whether it's questing, skilling. I would like to point out its downside, of course, which is if you are just doing Slayer or chopping logs, it's not really doing much for you. Yep. So I think people need to consider the downsides of relics as well. And then obviously the ammunition and runes one's pretty amazing if it's working. I'll look at that when I get back to the desk.
Was that about the world setup? Because we don't always get it right with setting up test worlds for these demos.
I think it's the world setup, and I also think that perhaps the logic has been flipped so it's a 15% to save instead of an 85.
That would be interesting.
But I'll have a look at that when I get back to the desk. That might have gone through. Regardless,
they have these little streams.
That's pretty good because remember you're an Ironman and you've got to get all your arrows and ammunition yourself. And runes are very expensive from shops. Like 1,000 Chaos runes is just shy of 100k. And I'm not sure people realise how difficult getting 100k could be on Zaya from scratch.
You're not starting for a stronghold security buff, that's for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, there's lots of things to consider with these relics. I'm actually curious, go around the sofa, like if you guys are playing, which one are you guys picking?
Infinite Run.
I went for the end of the endurance too.
Yeah. Oh God! I'm actually not picking Endless Endurance. I've changed my mind over the course of 3 weeks, and it's between the other two completely for me. I don't want to pick it.
I'm just curious to see the stats afterwards.
I think Endless Endurance will be picked the most anyway because it's the one that will just feel the nicest. Whether it gets you the most league points over the course of your 2 months, it will feel really nice. And I think the other thing as well is, I think a lot of people have pointed out, if you want to do solo raids, you probably want that without having staminas in raids and without having good ways to train agility.
Weird flex, but okay. With the solo raids over there.
Think about how you train agility, guys. I'll just leave that with you in the chat if you haven't considered that already. Because you can, get to 99 in Zaya.
All right, I'm going to move on then from Twisted Leagues to our other announcements. Some of you may have spotted right next to Jagex Flippy, and you might hold them up, is the Christmas jumper for this year. Featuring the Wise Old Man, some Christmas crackers, and Christmas puddings. This is going to be available for pre-order from our merch store as of tomorrow. So if you want to get your hands on one of these, make sure to check it out. I really like this year's jumper.
If you ain't wearing that on Christmas Day, what are you doing, really?
Big fan of that. In other news, we have a poll coming up, a general game improvements poll. We would like to get the blog out to you guys on Friday and hopefully polling mid next week. That's the plan anyway. There's a lot of stuff on there, some like 30 odd questions, more than that actually. I think by now it's about 34.
This includes some of the things that we mentioned on the stage at RuneFest involving usability in the bank.
Yeah, that one in particular I think is going to be a big one.
Nice. Very
So
nice.
there's that to look forward to.
Credit to Mod Tide, I think he's doing all the work on this one.
On the topic of the poll, there was a change in there that we ended up holding back because we're not sure for design reasons, but we'll take this opportunity to ask you guys what you think. And actually I'm interested to hear what people on the sofa think as well, if I haven't heard your opinion. So we discussed the idea of a new pet from the Pest Control minigame. And we talked for a while what this might look like and how you'd go about getting it. Lots of no's in the chat already. Some yeses, some pogs. Okay, so we would like to poll it because it's been sort of a repeated suggestion, but it's a case of what's the right way to poll it. So we're between two things at the moment, which is should it be a gamble option similar to the lucky dip from Barbarian Assault, where you spend some points and have a chance of getting the pet? Or would it be an automatic roll whereby you finish a game of Pest Control and have a chance of getting it? And we're not quite sure currently which is best. So I'm wondering if Mod Tide will help us out by setting up a straw poll. He's already on it. In the meantime, what do you guys think about the pet in general and also the implementation?
I think so there's obviously a lot of creatures in Pest Control. I think for the most part I see people checking for the spinner, but you want all of them, right?
Right.
I see that as just being included from the start. Like some of the other pets are like, mining and runecrafting have a little bit of extra, there's a vague extra step there that you've got to go and use it on an altar or mine a rock, but broadly the metamorphosis is for free. So I'd see it being done like that rather than a secondary unlock, because people having to get the pet and having to go and then unlock something else as well seems a bit over the top.
Once you get the pet, you could just change it into any of the other
Yeah, so you'd get the pet, you'd get all, however many, 6 or 7, however many creatures there are. And I personally prefer it being on a roll when you get a successful game of Pest Control, as long as you didn't get 0 points because of the meter.
Right.
Yeah, I think I prefer that approach because people wouldn't want to spend oh, do I go for my void or do I go for that? It would have to be extra. I think it would just, if that feels more natural in how most pets are obtained anyway, right? You do the activity and you just have a chance of getting it. I think there are exceptions to that, like you said, like Barbarian Assault. But I think that feels more natural.
I feel like pets should be this thing where you always have a chance of getting it when doing some random activity without actually intending to get it as well. So that's a nice part of, having a chance for every successful game, basically.
The other option is both. So you could literally have, how you get Fire Cape and you can gamble your Fire Cape. That's quite fun.
Yeah.
I mean, have a chance on the end of game, but also if you have got your void already and you've got nothing else to spend your points on,
You can gamble the whole
why not
set.
have a gamble the points and
Gamble a whole set of void.
10 points a gamble or something.
Elite void too.
Gosh, for a 1 in 3K chance.
Yeah.
Anyway, I mean, sorry, Ash.
I was going to say anything that involves using the thing on a dodgy squire appeals to me. Because we have that guy called just Dodgy Squire. He
That's
does
why you
the
sell, yeah.
refunds.
Yeah. But, I think there's a lot of people asking for it. There's a lot of people who are a bit worried about having this added. So hence why we're talking about it and wanted to see what you think.
I think ultimately the poll will decide whether the community wants it. I don't think we need to worry about that too much.
Cool.
But I would just say as well, even if it's something you're against, you should engage with the discussion about if it is going to happen, you want it to be done in the best way. So there's a chance you don't win that poll if you are going to be a no voter on this. But if it is going to go in, what's the best way that it could go in?
Okay. Well, I eagerly await the results from Mod Tide's straw poll. In the meantime, I'll move on to our first question from you guys. So the highest upvoted one on the Reddit thread that we put out was asking for the ghosts at Cerberus, the melee ranged magic ghosts, to be a bit more distinguishable for colorblind players. I think the only thing that tells them apart at the moment are the weapons are a different shape.
Well, originally on launch there was nothing to differentiate it.
Yes, but the staff of the mage, the sword of the warrior, and the bow of the ranger are not obvious enough at a glance. I was talking to the artist about it and discussing how if the mage were given a obviously wide and pointy hat, and the melee were really hunky, and the ranger were a scrawny little thing with almost no geometry, but enough to click on still, if necessary, then hopefully one will be able to see at a glance. Anyway, the artists hope to get that in their next sprint.
Awesome.
Okay. Our next question was, I'll start reading out the names actually. So Starsaber wanted to know if, this is going to be so despised. I'll read it out anyway. Could the option to automatically place runes that are picked up into the rune pouch be extended to include runes created through rune crafting? Or, make it two-parter if you don't like that, or the ones earned from the mage training arena?
It can. I seem to recall the dev who did it for picking them up off the ground in the first place. It took a pretty long time to get that one, and it wasn't trivial on the barrows either when we did that. So this is not a small ask, but I've got no problem with it.
Okay.
I don't want it to be through rune crafting and stuff. I think that is a bit too much.
That's getting the reaction from the chat that I expected, which is basically any buff to rune crafting is a bit too volatile. The other one seems fair enough. I think the mage training arena, which is kind of a horrible place, not a horrible place, but like one of the...
There's only one place in rune crafting it's useful, that's ZMI, right?
Yeah.
Because you have to take your rune pouch, you're taking your teleport runes, and it would help save some of the inventory space. But other altars, you only get one stack, so it doesn't really make much sense.
The ZMI already accepts it from the pouch. I thought you programmed that.
No.
Oh, or do you mean something else?
As in, when you use the altar and you get like a random set of 10 different runes.
That makes sense.
Okay, so we probably wouldn't go with that suggestion then. Although maybe for something like the Mage Training Arena where it's not quite as big a deal as it would be for runecrafting training. The results are in for the straw poll that we did about the Pest Control pet. So 22% of you, I think that's 310, didn't want the pet at all. Half of you reckon there should be a chance at the end of every game, and another quarter of you think it should be Barbarian Assault style with the gamble option. So it seems like just a random chance at the end of every game is the most popular option. If we
good.
do end up...
And the whole thing may actually pass a poll with that number.
It looks promising. So yeah, if we end up polling that, not in this upcoming poll, but maybe the one after, we'll offer it that way, I suppose. Seems like the right... I mean, we'll gather wider feedback, I imagine, but it seems like that's the best option. Creed wants to know why some monsters drop both noted and unnoted herbs, and gives the examples of drakes and the regular hydras. They say that they would like the herbs to be unnoted so that the herb sack is useful there, but if that's not a popular option, can they at least be consistently noted?
How many are there? I mean, how many are noted when they get noted drop?
There's quite a few, and I've seen cases of one noted herb. I know the dev answer to this, which is the bit of code we use to generate a random valuable herb by default hands it noted, and we could just make it take a parameter so the dev can choose whether they want it noted or not.
I'm sure whoever wrote that loot table wasn't unable to solve this if they'd wanted to.
No, I'm pretty...
They actually intended the behaviour we've got though.
I think I didn't change that bit of code for undead druids, but I did say when you get it unnoted, when you get a return from that.
There's a generic drop table that's used for noted herbs. Normally probably used in higher quantities than like 1 to 5 or whatever.
It's meant for handling higher quantities, that's why it returns it noted, but it does there are a lot of places it's used to give 1 or 2, and they should probably be unnoted.
Yeah, I mean, as much as the herb stack should be useful, if you would get a stack of 7 herbs as a drop, or I don't know how many herb drops from drakes, but that'd be quite annoying even with a herb stack. So it's the line's got to be drawn somewhere. Maybe like 3 herbs or less, then you're probably fine. But
yeah.
Okay. Wobbles wants to know if we could get a red text notification in the message box for when the book's rearranged in the Archaeus library. Something like You hear the shifting of books from a mysterious force, or maybe I'm just hearing things. Something along those lines that would make it easier to know when you need to recheck with Biblia.
We could play a sound effect even.
Nice. You know what we
As
could
well
use?
as that.
There's, you know,
Fiora.
we could.
Okay.
For the little opening text window thing I did for,
Oh, yes,
for
that
text
thing.
announcements in Deadman.
Yes.
I think letting them know that
Is
when
there
it
some
shuffles.
use?
I like the idea of letting them know when it shuffles. I think it just makes a bit of sense.
Yeah.
Some more
Yeah, it seems
feedback.
fair.
Also, you know, in the first Ghostbusters film, there's a sequence in the library where books just start crossing back and forth between the shelves. Well, we could show 2 books just fly across your screen in front of you in much the same way,
Oh, that'd be cool.
along with what Kieran describes with the fancy text.
It just reminded me of the original maze for Song of the Elves with all the swirling books before
Yes.
we realised how much that was on frame rate anyway without a bunch of swirling books, so we
It did
made
look
them.
awesome.
It looked awesome.
The library has never been good for FPS either.
No, and that made it worse, so.
Yeah, so it sounds like we're in favour of some kind of indication of when they change, whether that be a sound, an animation, or a message, or a combination of all 3. Cosmic Spacefish wants the
Awesome name.
wants the character stall after casting Telegrab to be removed so that the spell can be more useful. They clarify that they don't mean the delay between casts, so that you can still only cast it once per 5 ticks, but the stall that means you can't do anything else in that time.
What, while you wait for the item to get back to you?
The problem is that it completely stalls everything from the player, which includes locking out the inventory, I believe.
And cannon fire.
So the reason, obviously, is because you could telegrab the item and it checks when you telegrab it to make sure you can have it in your inventory. And then if you got something in your inventory, the spell would have to be coded to handle that, which I believe is why the stall exists in the first place.
I mean, it's already, I think we could just write the check again, right? At the point in time when you would get it.
We'd also prefer that you not be able to cast it on, say, some armour that's sitting on Portsrim docks, queue up a transition to Entrana, and have the spell bring the item to you at your destination.
Yeah.
So that kind of safety check would be needed still.
So yeah,
Okay.
proximity check. Have you still got space? And it's already possible that it still might fail, like when multiple field folks try and get it at once with a telegrab.
Yeah.
You still fire the telegram and just don't get it.
Okay,
Yeah, I think it's a bigger job than people think, but I don't see why we couldn't.
but not impossible.
Yeah.
What it would do, of course, is it would allow people to telegrab on the move, like drive by, running and picking stuff up.
Right, by
The thing is, you
telegrab.
can kind of do that anyway, right? Because you can telegrab and then you can like spam click and eventually your character will run and catch up. Is that
Yeah,
not
that's
true?
true. Well, if it's a stall like other stalls, then yes.
I think that's how it works.
So while you're P-delayed in our terminology, you can't start a walk request.
Right.
But if you were already walking, you would carry on and you wouldn't be able to stop.
Right, okay.
Okay.
Funny thing, back in late 2007, the guy who was first working on the Revenants, you remember when they were roaming the wilderness, he tried to write a sort of freeze attack on them, but he didn't do it the usual way. He did it with one of these stalls, which meant that what you got when you were attacked by the Revenants was that clicking no longer had any effect, and you weren't just frozen from starting a walk request, you were frozen to continue doing one if you already had one, and also you couldn't eat or drink or anything because it was just locked you completely like the telegrab does. And I felt this wasn't really quite what the devil was aiming for with a freeze, given that's not how any freeze works and we know why.
Yeah.
Naturally it's not how we launched it, I think. Anywho, don't mind me.
What's that GIF? I can't see from here what it is. It's
Sour, please.
someone doing the
Sour
worm
please.
in like a shop or something.
Have you never seen it?
No, I haven't. Oh, that's what sour please look. Okay.
I bet
see.
there is some song on right now.
It's so
Sea
uncultured.
shanty or
I just always see it as sour please. Okay. Akinaj wants to know. Oh, sorry, Ash.
I was going to say they should do another one.
Akinaj wants to know if we could make the wall mount spot in the skill hall of player-owned houses exchangeable, like the boss lair display case displays. Otherwise, could we at least get the stuffed heads back when we remove them so that customizing our homes is easier or more convenient?
The thing is with the displays is you only the jar displays is you only have one per house, right?
Correct. It works like a costume room. In fact, it steals the menu of a costume room because it works so much like a costume room. For this, we'd probably be able to do it. The difficulty would be that having got one, we wouldn't want you to have any more in the house. Or
Yeah.
they'd all work interchangeably with each other, whether you wanted them to or not. Maybe you'd be okay with that. In terms of converting from what it is to what you'd like it to be, that's a substantial job because we've got to deal with the fact that players already have the existing thing. Might make it easy if we did it as a new kind of thing you build in that hotspot, which works especially like a multi-lock. And also, if we let you take your head back down again, we prefer it not to be in the states where you could just put it up and down like the hokey pokey, I think, to get easy XP from it. But if the stuffing fell out and you had to take it back to Canifis, I think that would slow you down enough that it's not going to be worth jack as a training method, probably.
Okay.
Anything else on that one for anyone?
Sounds good to me.
No, that
Sounds
good.
all right. So I'm seeing people in the chat increasingly asking about Bounty Hunter. I wasn't intending to just gloss over the subject and ignore it. I've actually got a couple questions in my list here about it, so we can cover the topic. Our next one is one of them. It's from Lazy Inferno, and they note that the PvP community has lost easy access to the looting bag and the rune pouch due to the new Bounty Hunter shop. So now PvPers who don't engage with Bounty Hunter have to play the minigame in order to get those items. We're making a couple of changes this week or next?
The change to the price, as discussed in your blog, in fact, is coming out tomorrow.
Okay.
And we've also said we're open to putting it in more places, although exactly what places is not confirmed.
Sure. If I recall, it's the rune pouch is going down to 15 points, I believe,
Correct.
and the looting bag going down to 2. So hopefully that'll make them a lot easier to get. Bearing in mind the looting bag is already easier to get in the wilderness than it was before, since we rescaled the drop rates to match the combat levels of the NPCs that you kill to get it. That was all on Bounty Hunter for that particular point, although I'm going to move to the next point about Bounty Hunter while we're on the topic, and obviously you guys want to hear about it. So we've got a suggestion here from Champ, who says, why not have Bounty Hunter points scale based on the amount of risk you have when you kill your target? We were actually talking about this suggestion the other day, and it's not necessarily as feasible as we would like it to be. So I think the issue with having it based on the number that shows when you check how much you're actually risking in value is you've got items that can inflate that number, basically. So you've got items that are worth more, or appear to be worth more in the Grand Exchange than they actually are, for example.
Perhaps the fact that those emblems exist would be the thing it could scale off instead if we were going in that direction.
Yeah, so the emblems themselves might seem like a better option for doing that. There's also the idea of requiring people to actually use an emblem to, or at least have one on them to actually engage in the minigame at all, but that's something we're still scoping out. There are still some queries and concerns about the emblem system as a whole, so maybe before we added more mechanics to them, we would want to re-examine that.
Especially if some players feel it's already a bit too complicated as is.
Yeah, so we are aware of those kinds of suggestions, and we are working on them. In the meantime, the hot topic about Bounty Hunter is obviously the crates, which are disabled for the time being as a sort of anti-farming / botting measure. Our plan with those, are we sort of safe to say at this point?
It's built into the thing that's coming out tomorrow.
So we would like to increase the cost of the crates to 7 points apiece rather than 5. Other changes we're doing to reduce the farmability are increase the requirements to actually play the minigame in the first place. So
in terms of total account duration time, making it a lot harder for new throwaway accounts to be created and brought into the minigame quickly. Not in terms of total level. We're not about to, say, lock it behind level 90 runecrafting or something like that.
Right.
It's worth mentioning that, because if we just say we're going to raise the requirements, they might reasonably think we're going to block them out of the game completely.
Sure. So yeah, the purpose of extending the time that I think it's account age we're basing it on before you can actually play the minigame is it basically gives us more time to vet accounts and basically ban them if they are illegitimate before they end up playing the minigame too much.
This is based on what the support team advised in terms of what they can detect, what they can't detect. So we've been working quite closely with them to try and get thresholds that help them do what they need to do without hitting more of you than is strictly necessary.
Cool. Another change that we're doing, for those of you who are worried about us nerfing the crates slightly, we're making a change that should make it not so bad with the tasks. So they will now cycle, I believe, at 20 minutes rather than 30 minutes. So you'll be able to complete 3 an hour rather than 2. Hopefully the extra points will make up for that change to the crates, at least for legitimate players who are trying to complete the tasks.
Yes, I suppose, make Bounty Hunter great again.
On that note, I'm going to move to the next question. Stargate wants to know if there'll be a hardcore mode for Group Ironman and how it might work.
I don't think we were going to go with that on release. We had questions over how that could work, because there's two ways I kind of see it working, which is either when one person dies, everyone in the group loses their status,
Oh, good lord.
Brutal.
or when that one person dies, they are automatically removed from the group and the people will have to recruit someone else in to fill that spot. That's kind of the two things I see working with that system.
Both of them are savage.
Both of them are
Absolutely
savage.
brutal.
I think personally, I think you've got to go with the whole group. And so the group dies and stands as a group. That's
Yeah.
sort of the point. And so that's the way I see it. If somebody in the group dies, the group reverts to being a regular group Ironman.
It just means pick your friends carefully and,
Yeah.
pick your team members carefully, I might say. It might not have
But that's
anything
not
to
to
do
say,
with
I mean, this needs a lot more thinking about before we commit to actually doing a hardcore version of Group Ironman. Because there's a lot of problems there's a lot of problems to sort still to even develop it. So
Yeah, I'd want to make sure we were very happy with the state of Group Ironman first before we add the added complexity, because,
They're worried about losing their actual friends in real life from that. I'm sorry.
what about, I mean, again, Ultimate Group Ironman, like, you can apply it to that as well.
only
Basically, people would make 5 accounts, have one, and just have 5 banks. Or 4 banks on the other account.
So you play an Ultimate Ironman mode with 140 inventory slots instead?
Yeah, it's like a slightly less Ultimate Ironman if you play it by yourself.
The penultimate Iron Man, if you will. No? Okay. So potentially we could have extra game modes on top of the Group Ironman game mode, but they're all still sort of being scoped out, worked on. The second part of this player's question was roughly when is the expected release date? I think things are still, my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, is that things are still in design stage and being scoped out so that we can't necessarily commit to even a quarter of 2020. We're not sure just yet. It all
Yeah,
depends.
the whole 2020 schedule is still sort of being worked out for exactly when things are going to be trying to develop and worked on. And clans is complicated, and clans is a requirement for Group Ironman, and Group Ironman itself is complicated. So clans comes first. The work to do that is, we still need to estimate, we still need to refine exactly where that work can go. So it's hard to answer the question at the minute.
Yeah.
It's a big priority for next year. Obviously, we're working on trying to get that in.
And some of the design work as well for it ultimately depends on what we're given to work with, right? There's a lot of things we've been asked for. Can we have shared banking or shared player on houses? And ultimately we don't know, because we don't know what we're going to get from the engine team.
What we've committed to is doing our level best to give them some form of shared storage.
Yes.
Now, we expect it will be more limited than a traditional bank, not the least of which is that a group is not obliged to be on the same world as each other all the time, but we can't really work with item data that's, goes out of sync on different worlds. Otherwise, you'd store one item, then withdraw it on all different worlds, and you'd all have it. This is, of course, not acceptable. So, if we did it, at the very least, I expect you'd end up being locked so that only one world could access the storage at a time. So, if the group were across lots of different worlds, only one of those worlds will be able to access the storage. Hopefully, you'd be able to cope with that because you will be able to communicate with each other to work out what world you want to be on. Also, it would be asynchronous data because it's got to go back and forth to a centralized clan server rather than being able to be part of your individual save game profile on the world, which means that withdrawing and depositing things would probably be slower. There'd be, rather than the lag you're used to between yourself and the game world, there'd be the lag between the game world and the external store of this data. So I think it would be limited, but I hope we can give you something that lets you store the critical stuff and share it around the group, even if it's not quite as smooth as maybe you'd have hoped it would have been.
Yeah.
As a player, they're asking if we'll have high scores for the Group Ironman mode.
Yes.
Yes,
hope so.
That's absolutely the plan. We'd love to have
It's
that.
a pretty big thing. We know it's important, and absolutely we're going to have that. I did see somebody asking if they could get this artwork as a wallpaper. Don't know if we could do that.
I'm sure we can make it
But that
available
thing-
somewhere.
yeah.
Yeah, I'll make sure that we post it either on social media or somewhere that it can be accessed for people who want to use it. It looks awesome. Yeah, really, really big fan of that one.
And that's another question asking about if they can get rid of duplicate pages from My Notes. I think My Notes is the Barbarian pages, I'm guessing. It's not very specific, is it? Just call it My Notes. I guess we should be able to get rid of duplicate pages.
Is that
So-
to obtain them? So you,
Yeah, I imagine we could. There's no point in actually dropping you a duplicate page, is there?
Shouldn't think so. Yeah, I don't see a problem there.
I don't really see why not.
Kalidis has a question that you might like to take about, are they going to talk about the sire? Are they going to talk about the sire?
oh, I can.
Sorry, actually,
Oh,
just to clarify the pages,
Oh.
we wouldn't make them more common. We would just stop it dropping, something like that. So instead of actually making that 20, however many pages are 24, we could still make the 24th page super rare. It just means you won't constantly see pages drop that are not the one you want. So you don't get that unfair excitement or anything like that.
Yeah. But talking about the sire changes, that was something I decided to have a look at because I know the community had requested it for a long time. And we got some nice new engine commands that allow us to do things with NPCs we couldn't before. So using some of those, I've essentially made it so that when you attack the sire, it's not the same tick you attack it that it will transition, but it will do it the tick after, so you don't have to waste a hit. But it is a nice confirmation that we do get engine stuff given to us devs every now and then to do things a lot nicer.
Yep.
The other things that are done are, instead of having to wait for the 30-second timer to restun it, or you can just, I don't know if it's 30 seconds or 30 cycles. My brain gets confused between them now after working so long. But anyway, yeah, you'll be able to restun it instead of waiting, because I know there's times when people have killed 2 vents and they've got like that sort of 5 seconds left before, and they're like, I could go attack that vent, but I'd rather just restun it. So you can do that. And then the other one was, what was the other one?
Have we got the overhitting?
Yeah, no, it was. You can wake it up with a stun.
Oh.
It still goes through its wake up animation. So unless you're using Shadow Barrage, you don't fully know if your stun worked, and it's probably still quicker to do a range attack and stun it first. But maybe you can Shadow Barrage it, then just go over to a far away vent, and when it wakes up, you'll be able to attack the vent and stuff. So just little things to make not like killing the boss just a little bit nicer for the player experience.
So that lot passed a poll week or two ago now,
Yep.
and I believe you've got the work awaiting testing now.
Yeah, it's just waiting for QA to go through it. Naturally, I've played through it. It feels fine to me.
And he's killed a lot of these things, so he knows
Yeah.
what it should feel like.
Yeah, Sire was not kind to me on getting my bludgeon. But
Well, you weren't kind to it.
I would like to say, though, I did see some people turn around to me and say, they're just doing it because one of them wants to get a bludgeon. No, we're doing it because one of them had to do a lot to get a bludgeon and realizes the pain.
On the topic,
Has a bludgeon.
on the topic of engine, I mean, one other thing Engine are giving us soon should allow us to do something quite cool with the Nightmare of Ashihama.
Oh, yes.
So,
Oh, yes.
But that's spoilers. No more about that for now.
although I did see a question asking about release date for Nightmare and when we might hear about rewards. Is there anything for us to say about rewards? I know they've been coming up.
Only that we've had a
in
lot of
conversations.
suggestions come in. I've seen a couple designs, especially from Mod Ed, that have sort of taken bits and pieces from several different suggestions that you guys have given and whipped something together. There's one in particular which looks awesome, but I daren't say what it is just yet, lest I get in trouble for it.
I don't think you should, but we are at that point where we know what we're kind of wanting to pull. It's just finalizing those last few details and getting that ready. I believe is where the team's at with that.
All right.
Do you know if the plans to do a beta?
Yes, there is plans to do a test world where you can test out all of these items. I believe they're even going to have at least the original designs for what they're going to be, so you're not going to get like a pink, weapon that doesn't look like it is. So you can give feedback on that as well.
That may sound like a really arbitrary thing, but that's how we've done it before.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was like Justiciar was like pink Torags, and we've actually had the artist time to make nice models for them. So we'll get comments on both how effective it is, do you think it needs to be changed, look-wise or functionality.
I like using bright pink for the placeholder stuff because it's usually clear that we're not intending to launch it like that. Like when we demoed Chambers of Xeric in its initial drafts with just pink tunnels and holes all going through the earth.
Yeah.
As for release date, I know Ed's been making pretty good progress on the boss already, which is awesome. Obviously, we've still got to blog it, and we've still got to pull those rewards in full detail.
And pull the boss as well.
But aiming for like as early as possible next year, really, Q1.
Exciting.
Right, I'm going to get back to the suggestions then. I realise we're maybe just short of 10 minutes from the end of the stream. Lunch Guy again has asked another question. He wants to know if the Ancient Spellbook teleport tablets, which are currently exclusive to the Bounty Hunter store, could be obtained elsewhere. He suggests that an Ancient Lectern could be added to the Pyramid in the Desert for players to make their own. What do we think of this idea?
For making which items, sorry?
The Ancient Spellbook teleport tablets are the ones the tabs that teleport you to Gorok, Anakal, all those places.
Well, so you can use them on other spellbooks.
Just so that you have somewhere else to get them from. At the moment, you only get them from playing Bounty Hunter.
Okay.
Or buying them. I think they're tradable. Another player suggested that you would make them using granite or sandstone as a base rather than soft clay. Similar to the way Dennis Essence did the Arceus once.
If they're already available, I forgot they were available already from Bounty Hunter, but
Yeah.
if they're already available, I don't mind so much them having a different source, unless it badly affects Bounty Hunter and using that as a reward.
It's not the main source of profit for Bounty Hunter, so I wouldn't see it as a nerf to that minigame. Just a way for people, especially Irons, who don't want to play Bounty Hunter to get it.
I like the idea. I mean, we could definitely poll it to see what the community thinks. And I like that thematic theme that you have to, whether it's sandstone or something from the desert to make the blocks instead.
Yeah.
Feels like that fits the lore and, well, at least like the idea behind the Ancient Spellbook.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, sometimes if Iron players don't want to do something and we don't agree to, let them just skip it.
I will just say that you don't really need to use those teleports. I mean, I think
Also
the only one I've ever used the most is the Kirill one, the one that takes you to Canifis?
Yes, as I recall, they require desert treasure anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. Speaking of Canifis, how do you pronounce the name of the Slayer Master who is there?
Machesna, something like that? Mazkana, something.
No idea.
Mazakna? I don't know.
Okay. Raven Rabbi wants to know what Mazkna is. They say that the wiki lists them as a demon. However, he looks more like someone at Runefest cosplaying as a lesser demon. Also, he works with the player rather than trying to kill them, which is not particularly demon-like.
Well, you've got a butler, haven't you?
That's true. And the demon drill sergeant. But
He's just
Cosplaying as a lesser demon.
what their question boils down to is, can he be tied into the lore somehow with a quest or some other content? This is fitting for this particular Slayer Master, who's one of the lesser used ones anyway.
Do you have any idea where he came from? Did he exist
No.
before Slayer at all?
No. But I think his sword looked like an early graphic used for Desert Treasure. Back when it was, 4 mini quests leading to the overarching one. One of them was called the Legendary Sword Quest, in which you would meet an NPC he was a character who was also the sword, and as a reward for doing his section of the quest, apart from the diamond, I think he just gave himself to you, and as a sword. And if you lost him, then you'd go back and he'd be pretty knocked because you'd lost him, and you should care for him better because he gave himself to you. Then you'd get him again and go and fight with him again. Anywho, I think that was the graphic for the thing what the guy is holding.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's ever thought about what he actually is.
I think we could just say he's a lesser demon and leave it at that.
How,
Even
you don't
lesser
feel like he
Even lesser.
warrants a quest?
Least
or?
demon.
Least demon, yes.
Oh, okay.
You could easily write a quest around him and
Okay.
come up with something.
Or, maybe he's the next NPC that Ed uses in his next epic quest line that, another Slayer Master dies and you get a replacement.
I mean, I imagine
I don't know what species he is.
I imagine the original dev had some thoughts about what he was, but
They were meant to look dangerous. Like Vanica was like that guy who taught you combat in the tutorial, finally brought back, etc. And the fairy one looks pretty imposing for a fairy yay big. I suppose it just seemed like a good idea at the time, and the law of Mauritania was not so confirmed back then. In fact, if I recall, Mod James, not the Rune Shark one, but the original Mod James, and Mod Titan both had different ideas for what Mauritania could become. with Mon James, expecting that there might be more werewolf factions and trying to buff the werewolves against the vampires and vice versa, and trying to keep the balance of power. And a lot of the dialogue in Canifis was written with the expectation of lore like that. Titan, on the other hand, went for a rather deeper and darker fantasy involving the vampires, and I think he won. So
Certainly pretty good.
Well, yeah, I ain't complaining. Although James's content was also mint, so I think we'd have had some fun if he'd done it elsewhere. Anyway.
Okay. I realise we've got quite a few questions left, and some of you sent some in that Mod Tide picked up from the chat. I'll answer a couple of those now. Any that we don't get to, I apologise. I'll make sure we've kept a note of them and answer them in a future Q&A. So before we wrap things up, Schlepke wants to know how many League Worlds there'll be.
10?
Yeah,
I
plans
think.
to have 10, and we have scope to add more if they're all quite busy.
Oh, on that point, we did do a few things to help with that. The soldiers in the Shazian tent will now be injured quicker. Sorry to them. So you can heal them. And there are more plows than you would
Done to
expect.
the plows.
So,
Respawn timers.
there's overcrowding of the world, and there's overcrowding of obviously specific bottlenecks, and some of them we can address by making things spawn faster or that sort of thing, or we can put on more worlds. So we have options, and
Savage.
I like that we story-wise, the nurse is just going stabbing them all again, you know.
we'll keep a good eye on it and make sure that there's the right amount.
A couple more Leagues-related questions. So this person's an Ultimate Ironman, and they want to know what's going to happen to the rewards if they play on that account. Can they be stored in the POH or somewhere else, rather than taking up precious inventory space?
Yes, so the design for, I think, almost all of the rewards is that they're storable in the POH. The Slayer Helm won't be because it's
A Slayer
a
Helm.
Slayer Helm and they all aren't storable. The trophies, I believe, you can just destroy and reclaim. And I think there's a few things like the home teleport animation, it just gets consumed. The scroll for the house POH, you store it on the estate agent when you switch to that house color, and then when you switch to a different house color, you'll get the scroll back. So it's kind of like you can do it that way.
So this has all
The
been
banner is the
considered.
only thing that can't be stored in POH.
I think so, but I still might end up doing it and finding some way to put it there. I was aware of the design in that if we come out with a lot of leagues in the future and they all have more cosmetic rewards, bank space gets quite tight. So I think it should be kind of the requirement that they do that, or I don't know, maybe we add something to the trophy room so there's a specific league storage, you know?
Yeah, something like that would
Okay.
be cool, I think.
Something like that so you can actually store them in the POH.
On a similar sort of note, Solo Project wants to know if we can get rewards over to main game Ironman while we play regularly on the main game at the same time.
No, if you get the rewards on an Ironman account, that's the only way to get them on an Ironman account. We can't have some way to transfer them across because the point of being an Ironman is that you obtain the items yourself. And even if you say it was your own account, there's no real confirmation. You could have just paid someone to get it for you, and that kind of defeats the whole idea of being an Iron. Yeah.
The other thing is, even if people have offered ideas about systems where you could put a name in it at the start and in advance and specify which is your alt account and things like that. However, that opens it also up to the black market, and we don't want people paying behind the scenes to be able to say, I want these rewards on my Iron, can you go and play leagues for me and I'll pay you a bill on my other account or give you real life money for it. So that sort of thing, it just opens up too many problems, and so
I think the only problem with it is it's limited time content, right? It's the same thing with anything in an Ironman. If you want a reward for doing content, you have to do the content. That's consistent with everything across that game mode. The only exception is you kind of have to do it on this 2 months. But saying that, on future leagues, you will be able to use the points you get in future leagues to buy stuff from this one. So even if you miss out and you go and get something, you can always hold on to those points, and the next time we do a league, you can get a few more points and then buy it.
people are talking about creating a permanent account link system. It's like, I think we've discussed these, not on this sofa previously, but account system as a whole could do with looking at, and that's a massive topic, and that's all caught in the whole account security side and all of that stuff as well that's being worked on. So the account system as a topic is a big thing for Jagex over probably the next year or several years to work on, but the account system was originally created decades ago.
I'm afraid it's not something that's going to be able to come out of this team, certainly not any time soon.
Yeah. So,
sorry.
yeah, apologies, but we cannot let you pass your rewards from one account to another unless you're trading them.
I do empathise with the community on that. I'm going through the same thing on my own account. I'm really wishing I, wasn't losing those gains, but I want those rewards, so I'm gonna have to go and get them.
It just makes them all the more prestigious that way, at least. So
It does.
all right, that just about brings us to the end. I'm going to wrap things up by going over the key points and announcements. So obviously Twisted Leagues is coming out tomorrow. At the beginning of the stream, we showed off the tutorial, the task interface, relics, that sort of thing. Exclamation mark Twisted will take you to the reveals blog with all of the information in writing. Christmas jumper is available on pre-order from our merch store as of tomorrow. So if you want one of those, check that out. We've got a game improvements poll blog expected on Friday, so keep an eye out for that and give your feedback over the weekend. And that just about covers everything. So we hope you guys have had a good time watching the stream. I'd like to thank all of the mods for joining me here on the couch, as well as our producer Mod John and Mod Tide, who's been hanging out with you guys in the chat. I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful week, and we'll catch you in the next one. Enjoy the Twisted League.
See ya.